There are rare moments in life where everything quietly rearranges itself, often when no one else is watching. While you've been walking your path, shouldering silent questions and wrestling with doubts that echo only in private, something immense has been quietly set in motion on your behalf. What you couldn't see was the slow, deliberate arrangement of events, like chess pieces on a board waiting for your next brave move. All this time, the struggles that weighed down your chest were never for nothing. They were the pressure that forges those who are meant to rise. Elsewhere, beyond your line of sight, influences that move entire worlds are turning their attention toward your journey. This isn't the ordinary support you expect from familiar faces. It's not a hand on your shoulder from someone in your living room, but the silent endorsement of those who watch from distant towers. Opportunities are forming in the shadows, crafted by those who understand what it takes to withstand the impossible. Your presence has reached places your voice never traveled. Unseen witnesses have observed you with a quiet respect, noticing the way you rebuilt yourself every time life tried to reduce you to rubble. Where most would have turned away, you turned inward and discovered tools buried within, the kind that build bridges for others to cross. The environment around you is shifting faster than you realize. What used to feel like a series of meaningless setbacks is now gathering into something that promises revelation. Every heartbreak that once felt final, every hour spent feeling invisible, each time you traded comfort for growth, these were the stepping stones for a purpose that won't leave you unchanged. Your journey was never about surviving for survival's sake. Each moment of isolation, every loss that left you breathless, was shaping your ability to lead others through their own storms. The universe reserves its toughest lessons for those destined to leave a mark, not with noise, but with an unshakable presence. Soon, what once made you feel set apart will become the very force that draws new possibilities straight to your doorstep. Now, there's a momentum building, invisible yet unstoppable. Every private victory, every tear nobody saw, every courageous choice that seemed insignificant, all are quietly stacking up, ready to shift everything around you. The story you've been living is about to break open, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it in ways no one else can measure. This is the turning point where your resilience becomes the foundation for something breathtaking, something that can't be explained by luck or chance alone. Sometimes life delivers an undeniable sense that something bigger is about to happen. Those moments aren't accidental. When the path suddenly comes into focus, and certainty blooms in the space where doubt once lingered, it's a sign that something within has shifted. Inner evolution is rarely noticed in real time, but every choice to nurture hope instead of letting resentment take root has quietly shaped a new horizon. The progress that felt invisible has opened the door for a deeper level of connection, one that could only be accessed after all those years of silent persistence. Far beyond the reach of nostalgia or old debts, support is now arriving from unexpected directions. Not the familiar faces circling in your memories, but individuals whose presence carries the weight to tip the scales for entire communities. These are the architects of possibility, observers whose quiet approval influences the shape of what's to come. When one story radiates genuine transformation, it captures the attention of those capable of moving invisible levers in the world. While others fill the air with hollow promises or rehearse borrowed philosophies, genuine change makes itself known. Transformation that emerges from deep within stands in stark contrast to the practiced illusions of the day. Authentic renewal isn't something that can be mimicked or staged. It shines with a clarity that draws the eyes of those searching for evidence that hope isn't extinct. Bravery in confronting the unseen burdens of family and history rewrites what seemed inevitable. Rejection of old patterns in favor of a new future breaks invisible chains, sending signals that ripple far beyond one's own reach. Those attuned to spotting the origins of change can sense when someone has rewritten the script, even if the author hasn't realized the scope of what's been set in motion. Early hardships that once seemed cruel were quietly loosening the knots that kept entire lineages confined to their former roles. Every decision to move forward with honesty, to welcome growth instead of surrendering to the easy comforts of familiar cycles, has cast stones into waters wider than imagined. That impact has caught the attention of people whose calling is to cultivate progress wherever it appears. When someone becomes a living catalyst, they attract allies committed to amplifying the effects of such rare, positive disruption. The help now taking shape isn't about rescue or sympathy. It's a deliberate contribution to a vision that holds value beyond any single person. The unique combination of insight earned from hardship and strength forged in silence is being recognized as the key to opening doors for countless others. People who sense that spark are ready to back a mission with the potential to rewrite the stories of entire communities. With change comes resistance. Sometimes the very people who once rooted for your survival begin to feel unsettled by your ascent. Not out of malice, but because your new reality challenges their understanding of what's possible and threatens the comfort of old dynamics. Progress always brings friction, especially for those whose sense of purpose depended on your old limitations. That, too, is a sign that transformation is real, when it reshapes the expectations and identities of everyone around. People who've always positioned themselves as gatekeepers in one story often tighten their grip when genuine transformation starts to blossom. Some may cloak their resistance in concern, others might justify it as loyalty or tradition, but the underlying truth is the same. True growth unsettles the foundations they've built their identities on. The old patterns can sense when their hold is slipping, and they push back, not out of hatred but because change exposes what's been hidden too long. Now, consider how real power works. Not in the spotlight, but in the background, shifting outcomes with subtle precision. Allies with influence beyond the surface, those who quietly move policy, open doors, and rearrange the rules, have begun to take an interest. These aren't ordinary supporters with shallow intentions. They see the bigger chessboard, the strategies that can neutralize even the most persistent barriers. When those invested in the status quo attempt to regain control, they find themselves facing a level of strategic support they never imagined. What's forming around you is not just encouragement, it's a living architecture, woven with foresight, protection, and timing. During the time spent looking inward, quietly recalibrating from within, vast webs of connection have been quietly shifting in your favor. This assistance reaches far deeper than crisis intervention. It's designed to uproot the subtle causes of limitation, to mend fractures that run not just through a single life, but through entire branches of family and community. The changes being set in motion aren't simply a helping hand. They're an overhaul of what once seemed unchangeable, operating in the shadows until the time is right to emerge. What's about to unfold will feel more like a seismic shift than a gentle nudge. It won't be just a minor improvement or a lucky break. It will appear as if the entire landscape of possibility has been rewritten in a fraction of the time most spend waiting for progress. Old patterns that took lifetimes to reinforce may begin to dissolve in mere moments, replaced by structures that invite growth on every level. Deep inside, the part that long ago learned to brace for disappointment will finally sense something different. The constant scanning for danger, the exhausting vigilance that kept the heart guarded for so long, will slowly fade as new forms of support materialize, sometimes tangible, sometimes sensed only as a profound relief. The promise is not comfort for comfort's sake, but a kind of liberation that allows every part of the self to finally breathe freely, protected by forces both seen and unseen. Still, what's coming isn't designed to dull one's edge or cushion life from challenge. Growth thrives on meaningful resistance. The shifts ahead are about removing artificial limits, not real obstacles that serve a purpose. The backing at play is wise enough to leave space for self-discovery, ensuring that strength continues to be built, not replaced by complacency. When a gift for transformation emerges, whether through healing, creating, or leading, the stage is set for that gift to expand. Where there was once a small audience or limited reach, entire platforms and resources become available seemingly overnight. Movements spark where once there were only whispered hopes. The right people, tools, and opportunities arrive not by accident, but as a result of a larger design that's finally catching up to the effort already invested. Those orchestrating this wave of change understand something rare. Real transformation multiplies itself. Each breakthrough in one life lights the way for countless others. The impact is exponential, spreading beyond the boundaries of what was once thought possible, rippling outward until it circles back, elevating everyone connected to its source. Personal growth can act as a lighthouse, drawing others from their own dark shores. What starts as a single journey inward eventually radiates out, igniting transformation in everyone who witnesses it. When one person breaks free, the patterns holding entire groups captive begin to loosen as well. This ripple shakes the foundations of those who've grown used to holding the reins, and their pushback grows louder as the new reality threatens to unravel the comfort of the old. Pushback often comes cloaked in layers, sometimes open and hostile, other times disguised as concern or wisdom. Obstacles don't always shout. Some whisper doubts designed to make every step feel uncertain. There are those whose sense of self depends on the roles they've played for years, and change feels like a challenge to their place in the story. Public attacks can be loud and visible, but the most draining assaults are often those that quietly undermine confidence, casting shadows where there should be clarity. Some resistance arrives disguised as friendship, as if the familiar can offer true support. But gestures that seem like help may actually reinforce old limitations. Encouragement becomes a leash, advice turns into a maze, and emotional safety is offered at the price of remaining small. It's rarely obvious at first, but over time, patterns reveal themselves. Support that ties you down, guidance that leads in circles, and kindness that masks a refusal to let you fully grow. Beyond individuals, entire organizations are built on the careful curation of secrets. When the momentum of real change threatens the structures that protect hidden power, the reactions are precise and calculated. These systems extend invisible hands through rules, stories, and connections, designed to reinforce their own stability. Their responses aren't accidental. They're the product of long-established networks working to maintain the status quo. Yet, behind the scenes, new alliances are weaving their own patterns, ones designed to outmaneuver even the most entrenched opposition. Strategies are being mapped out far in advance, contingencies layered upon contingencies, resources mobilized to meet every conceivable challenge. Every attempt to rewrite the story is met with a countermove already prepared, every setback answered by support waiting in the wings. As resistance intensifies, so does the intelligence and foresight of the support standing ready to meet it. True authority in the world is rarely the product of random chance. The ones who stand at the helm have often spent a lifetime decoding how influence bends outcomes, how stories are shaped before most even notice, and how the silent gears of society are turned by invisible hands. While others may believe they hold the levers, those truly guiding the narrative have been learning the art of subtle impact, perfecting their role while everyone else was looking elsewhere. It's in the midst of upheaval that the depth of their commitment comes into focus. Assistance, when it arrives from such individuals, is anything but ordinary. Rather than simple words of encouragement, it may manifest as unbreakable support, a defense that moves quietly but with absolute precision. Where barriers once seemed immovable, unseen arrangements dissolve them, and tides shift to clear the path forward. Help comes not as comfort but as a fortress, steady, silent, and fierce in its loyalty. What surprises most is the discovery that this type of guardian is not a singular phenomenon. Behind the scenes, a collection of awakened minds, each with their own expertise and vision, have been preparing for moments like these. They operate not as a cabal, but as a constellation, each light brightening the path when collective change is needed most. One brings influence where decisions are made, another shapes narratives for millions, a third steers opportunities from the background, all working independently, yet attuned to the same frequency of renewal. Together, they assemble something far greater than a temporary alliance. The structure they weave transcends short-term goals, building a foundation that's been in the making for generations. Decades of knowledge, resources, and alliances have been laid down like an invisible scaffolding, constructed not for personal gain, but to answer a calling that only now begins to make sense. Many of them couldn't articulate their purpose until the pieces fell into place. What unfolds is the ignition of a living matrix, an intricate web of goodwill and intention designed to elevate not just one person, but entire currents of progress. This is no secret gathering, no hidden society, but a natural evolution where those entrusted with influence recognize their role as custodians for collective growth. Their actions are not about exclusion, but about accelerating the shift for all. Strange alignments start to emerge. Events synchronize with astonishing accuracy. Opportunities surface at the exact moment they're required, and the right individuals cross paths as if drawn by an unseen magnet. What seems random to the untrained eye is, in reality, the careful choreography of those who know how to nudge the world in subtle ways, making room for new outcomes. Even more astonishing is the realization that quiet advocates may have been gently guiding your progress all along. Opportunities appearing without warning, barriers vanishing with no clear explanation, or pivotal encounters that changed your direction may all be the fingerprints of guardians working invisibly. The tapestry of support that now becomes visible is only the tip of a much deeper network, one woven over lifetimes, waiting for this very chapter to begin. When the curtain is pulled back on how support has shaped your journey, it can stir up doubts about whether your path has truly been your own. There's no puppet master behind your progress, only a set of conditions arranged so that real growth had space to happen. Every decision, every step of learning, every layer of self-rebuilt was authored by your own hands. This is no rescue mission. It's an invitation to step onto a larger stage, with tools worthy of the task at hand. The investment you're receiving isn't scattered or random. It's the kind of backing reserved for those whose ripple effect will transform whole communities. The ideas and dreams you once cast aside weren't empty wishes, they were the seeds of something you were meant to bring into the world. The images that surfaced in your quietest moments, dismissed as too bold, were signposts for the road ahead. The deep certainty that you carried, whispering that something extraordinary was calling you forward, wasn't fantasy. It was preparation for what you're now stepping into. Messages of limitation, of lowering the bar, were all echoes of a mindset that's reaching its expiration date. There's a shift unfolding, a movement away from scarcity toward the kind of thinking that makes the impossible standard practice. When momentum gathers behind a new possibility, what once looked far-fetched becomes inevitable. The landscape is being reshaped by hands you've never met, all working to ensure that your breakthroughs become a new point of reference for what's achievable. The changes taking root in your life aren't designed to stay behind closed doors. This is a transformation that's meant to be witnessed, a beacon that can't help but draw others forward. The impact of your rise will spill out into the open, disrupting the narratives that have kept so many locked in quiet suffering. It's not just about personal success, but about making visible the kind of progress that becomes a catalyst for those still navigating their own shadows. What sets this opportunity apart is its purity of intent. The only return expected is the fullness of your becoming. No hidden contracts, no chains of obligation, only the freedom to express your truest self. Those who have chosen to support you recognize that lasting growth can't be forced or manufactured. It flourishes when left to chart its own course. Their faith in your integrity runs deep, grounded in a rare ability to see beyond the surface and sense the depth of your resolve. Actions that sprang from genuine care, choices rooted in honesty even when no one was around to see them, have not gone unnoticed. There's a quiet wisdom in the world, a silent registry of deeds, that pays attention to those who uplift others without expectation. It's not surveillance, but a kind of recognition that emerges naturally in a world starving for authenticity. When someone lives in alignment with what is right, it echoes further than they ever realize, reaching the eyes and hearts of those seeking the next true leader. Every step taken in alignment with purpose radiates outwards, echoing into realms unseen by ordinary perception. Those who repeatedly act from conviction, choosing integrity where others seek convenience, leave patterns that quietly attract the attention of networks engineered to magnify exactly that kind of momentum. What's approaching is not born from fleeting emotion or idle generosity. It's a deliberate framework set in motion by those who specialize in accelerating true progress. Rather than being the result of luck or chance, your presence on this path is the outcome of unwavering dedication in moments when it would have been easier to withdraw. There have been unseen assessments, challenges navigated without an audience, that revealed a commitment to genuine evolution. Consistency under pressure has become your quiet signature, turning what seemed like isolated struggles into a signal strong enough to draw focused attention from those who steward larger shifts. Timing is everything. Assistance arrives not at the first sign of readiness, but precisely when your inner landscape can support it. Those waiting to extend a hand have the discernment to know that help given too soon can undermine the very strength they wish to empower. When your foundations have become stable enough to receive without losing autonomy, that's when doors begin to unlock and support takes a new shape. The environment you now enter is one where obstacles begin to vanish just as new possibilities come into view. This is not accidental or passive good fortune. It's the work of individuals quietly clearing a path so that your true self can step forward unencumbered. The harmony created in this zone makes the improbable seem commonplace, allowing talents and dreams long kept in shadow to move into the light and flourish. For a long time, the body has braced itself for challenges that never seem to end, adjusting to a rhythm of alertness and caution. As new forms of security settle in, there's an internal recalibration, tension dissolves, and the unfamiliar sensation of ease begins to take root. Emotional waves may surface as the weight of past struggles finally lifts, making space for new chapters to be written not in fear, but in hope. This shift on the inside is mirrored by changes in every part of your daily life. Where limitation once felt inevitable, new opportunities demand a more expansive identity. Growth isn't about leaving the old self behind, but about inviting long-neglected aspects to join the journey. Patterns of shrinking to avoid harm give way to the freedom of occupying every part of your existence, unafraid of being seen or heard. Where past experiences required careful strategies to win love or prove worth, a new standard is set, one where care is offered without strings, and reliability is no longer in question. The self that once questioned its value, doubted its own insight, or felt invisible finally sees those instincts affirmed. Old stories dissolve as trust is restored from the outside in. Perception, once labeled as weakness, is revealed to be a deep strength. Dreams once set aside as impractical reappear as essential blueprints for the next phase. Sensitivities that were dismissed or downplayed are recognized as key tools in the unfolding transformation. This recalibration is not just emotional or mental. It is a full-bodied awakening that brings every hidden asset into play for the journey ahead. A subtle shift in the atmosphere announces itself whenever a person begins to embody their true calling. Presence alone can ignite hidden sparks in those nearby, sometimes unsettling those accustomed to limitation. People who once felt at home in cycles of difficulty may suddenly face the uncomfortable realization that another path exists. Meeting someone who's moved beyond old battles, yet remains tender toward others still climbing their own mountains, forces an honest reckoning. The purpose of this elevation isn't simply personal gain. It carries the weight of greater responsibility for what's to come. Stepping into greater influence isn't just about the resources one commands, but about the depth of awareness guiding every move. Every word spoken and decision made starts to ripple outward, touching not just individuals but entire collectives and timelines. Each lesson learned, every moment of restraint, and all acts rooted in principle become living lessons for anyone witnessing the journey. Integrity under pressure becomes the silent language that others instinctively understand as evidence that a new kind of leadership is possible. Life, in this context, transforms into a living syllabus on embodied wisdom, conscious stewardship, and selfless achievement. The most significant breakthroughs, though, unfold within. Defenses that once shielded against hardship begin to dissolve, making space for the capacity to welcome and share more than was ever thought possible. The tendency to brace for difficulty softens when safety becomes the new baseline. Where independence once guarded against disappointment, a newfound openness to mutual support emerges. This reconfiguration demands patience as patterns once shaped by hardship begin to reorient around the reality of abundance and trust. Bodies conditioned for struggle might react with unexpected emotion as the old survival rhythms finally lose their grip. Tears may come as relief washes away layers of stored tension. As previously hidden facets of self find space to emerge, the resistance that appears in response to your growing presence paradoxically helps crystallize your mission. Any effort to diminish your momentum now meets an unwavering defense, leaving even bystanders aware that there's an uncommon force at play. This display of guardianship, so evident and immediate, not only deters future challenges but also sparks hope in those quietly searching for proof that such backing exists. The narrative of your journey becomes a living archive of what unfolds when one refuses to let adversity dictate their direction. Each interaction, boundary set, or brave decision ripples far beyond your own sphere, carrying the potential to inspire and embolden others who still hesitate on the threshold of transformation. Your story, broadcast through everyday acts, stands as evidence that authenticity and persistence are rewarded with opportunities beyond imagination. Patterns once mistaken for personal or family misfortune are finally seen for what they are, threads in a much larger tapestry of collective evolution. Healing achieved through individual effort reverberates outward, advancing the progress of many. The support arriving now isn't mere repayment for past hardship. It's a recognition of your readiness to amplify this impact on a scale far greater than before. What appeared as pain, rejection, or disappointment was quietly constructing the foundation for something far greater. The harsh lessons that seemed designed to break you apart were, in fact, tuning your awareness to distinguish what's real from what merely pretends. Every departure, every closed door, every hopeless night was carving out space for wisdom, for clarity about what's essential and what is just noise. Nothing along your path was without intention. The adversity you faced was the training ground for responsibilities that require an uncommon depth of courage and endurance. Protection is unfolding now in ways that escape ordinary perception. While your attention may be fixed on practical demands, like building stability or managing obligations, there's another layer operating in the background. Subtle forms of support are quietly shielding you from unseen disturbances, redirecting interference before it ever reaches your conscious experience. Allies you have yet to meet are acting on your behalf, ensuring that the momentum you've built isn't disrupted by forces intent on halting your ascent. Guardians of your evolution understand that those who spark real change require comprehensive care. The boundaries being established around you are multi-layered, reaching into domains most will never notice. What's ahead is larger than any previous hope or vision you've entertained. The quiet wishes whispered in solitude, the half-formed possibilities glimpsed when inspiration struck, the future you barely dared to imagine. These were all rehearsals for the reality now gathering at your doorstep.